Good morning. I'm not used to these, so maybe I'm probably going to shout anyway. Okay, cool. It's great to be with you. I love this room. I'm traveling all over the USA, sharing about what we're doing in Angola, and often I feel like so much a part of what we do is just helping people in the USA realize that the church is not just here in our country, but all over the world. So what a neat reminder to be in this room with the flags of all the nations represented that have sent students through Sunset and things. That's neat. You all are global Christians. That makes my work easier. Wanted to share some pictures with you and talk a bit about what we're doing. There's a photo of my wife. She's not here. I kind of miss her, so maybe this slide's more for me. This is a picture of my family in front of our home in Angola. We've been there for 4 years, as Ron said, and learned Portuguese before we got there. And this young man next to us here is Manel. We've kind of adopted him as part of our family, and if I have time, I'll tell you a little more of his story. Quick geography lesson. There's Angola. It's on the southwest coast of Africa, and we live in Wambu, which is highlighted in red on the map of Angola here on the right. Angola is twice the size of Texas, so it's a big place. We have 18 provinces and all different kinds of terrain, jungle in the north, desert in the south, and everything in between. I have traveled to 17 of the 18 provinces in order to teach the Word. Still trying to get to that little one up top in the top left there, hopefully next year. But it's a big place where we serve. We are the first missionaries of the Churches of Christ to locate in Angola to do work there. I should say the first missionaries from the Western world. And we are the only Western missionaries in the entire nation that are working specifically in church planting. There are others that are there doing medical work and upper-level education, but very few that have gone specifically to help the church grow. Tell you a little bit about Angola's history. Angola fought for 40 years. They began fighting for independence from Portugal in the 60s. And when they won that independence, the Portuguese pulled out, but they didn't leave any government to kind of succeed them as they left. And so the four armies that had fought against the Portuguese turned in and fought against each other. So Angola fought a civil war for another 27 years. This is a monument from our city. This is Agostinho Neto, the first president of Angola, the leader of the war for independence, and the warrior, doctor, poet. You see the AK-47 at his back and the pencil in his hand. He's a national hero and a symbol of Angola's fight for independence. But the war has also had an impact in other ways. Angola, unlike most of Africa, is very urban. Because of the sustained conflict, people left the rural areas and fled to the cities. So Wambu, where we live, which is this city on the top left, is a metro area of almost a million people, about 900,000 people in the Wambo area where we live, and 75% of the population of Angola lives in cities. Because they've all moved to the cities, everyone speaks Portuguese. For example, in the first church plant that we've been a part of, we have 6 different tribal groups represented. So when we come together, everything is done in the national language rather than in the local languages. Also, because of urbanization, you have cities that developed in concentric circles. So in the city center, you have the old Portuguese city, like this picture at the top left. But as people fled the rural areas, they came to the cities and kind of formed in rings around the cities. So the further out you get, the newer the city and the less developed. So one ring out, people have cement block homes, then a variety of roofs, but the next level out, they're still in their mud bricks homes. And the next level out, they may have leaned together some sheets of zinc or tin, and they're living there. And so the further out you go from the city, the less developed it becomes. And that's significant for our work as well, and I'll explain why. Share a couple more things about, unique things about Angola. Angola has oil. That kept the war going for quite some time. They have oil and diamonds. The party that controlled the oil used the oil to fund their war effort. The party that controlled the diamonds used the diamonds to control their war effort. Today, the oil contributes to some absurdities in the Angolan economy. It is a very, very wealthy nation as far as the numbers show, but that wealth, of course, is very concentrated just among a very small number of individuals. So what we have is wealth and poverty side by side. I did a summer internship in Togo, Africa. In Togo, everyone's a corn farmer. And when everyone's a corn farmer, nobody realizes that there's anything better out there than farming corn. But I could take you to a street corner in Angola. On one corner, we have an enormous 3,000 square foot house with running water and electricity and 6 luxury SUVs in the driveway. You look across the street, and there's a family of 12 living in a three-walled house. One of the walls is fallen in and not been rebuilt yet. No running water, no electricity, and every morning they can wake up and look across the street and see the absurd wealth that others have compared to the poverty that they live in. So that as well is a very significant factor for what we're doing in Angola. This is our team. We're thankfully not there alone, so you have my wife and myself on the left. Then this fellow is Nathan and his wife Umoyo. Umoyo is an anesthesiologist from Zambia. Nathan studied with Danny and I at Harding, Bible degree. This gal is Jordan. She's a single gal. She's a nurse. Katie above is an educator, and she is Danny's wife. So 7 adults and 5 kids, and we work together, try to complement each other, strengths and weaknesses and all that. Big blessing to be a part of the team. And tell you a little bit about what we do. We see our ministry as kind of having concentric circles. We have our local work, our national work, and our international work. So locally, this is the first church that we helped plant in our city of Wambu. We began this work with an Angolan minister. He was with us in the beginning, but after a few weeks, the church money disappeared, and he disappeared with it, and this kind of fell on us. So it was very difficult that first year. We would gather for prayer in the mornings before people went to work. My wife would help with a Bible study that also tried to teach women literacy, how to read. Many of the church activities looked very similar to what church activities might look like here, just in a different location. For a year, we prayed for the Lord to send us mature Christian men to help us lead this congregation. For about the first year, I say that Danny and I, my teammate Danny and I, alternated. He would preach, and I would help keep the drunks on the back row under control, and then we'd swap the next week. He was on, I would preach, and he'd be on drunk duty. So it was very tough, but God answered those prayers. And initially, we met these 4 guys. Their names, left to right, are Peter, Gideon, Jeremiah, and Paul. They'd worshiped with us a few Sundays, and I heard Peter, Paul, and Jeremiah teasing Gideon for being the only one that didn't have a name that came from the Bible. So we saw an opportunity, and we started teaching them the basic Bible story and began preparing them to help us lead worship. And as it turns out, Jeremiah is a gifted teacher, Gideon is a gifted worship leader, and on this day, pictured above, 3 of them were baptized into Christ in this lake near our home. And so early on, they were helping us lead the new church plant. We then met these 3 guys. The guy in the middle here is Cesar. He came to Christ late in life, but was a minister in the capital, Luanda, and came to work alongside of us in Wambu, another answer to prayer. This fellow to the right of him is John. John became a member of the church in Zambia. He came to Christ in Zambia in the Maheba refugee camp, where there are 3 Church of Christ church plants and missionaries have worked for many years. When he moved back to Angola, we heard he was coming and immediately invited him to come and work alongside us. And this guy on the left is Jose. Jose began his spiritual journey with the Jehovah's Witnesses. They gave him a Bible that they had torn some pages out of, and he didn't quite understand that. So when he met Cesar, they began to talk, and Cesar sat down with him and explained kind of what was going on there, and now Jose is helping lead the church with us in Wambu. So I tell you about these 3 men to illustrate the nature of church and how we're coming together to work alongside of our Angolan brothers in Christ to help start a new work. And because we have these 3 men that are working alongside us in Wambu now, the missionaries are transitioning away from this church plant. In April, we said goodbye. Now, we still visit on occasion, but we told them, you have mature Christian leadership here now. Things are going well. We're going to begin a new work. So this is what a worship service looks like there in the São Luís neighborhood. Now we're starting a new work with a different focus. And to illustrate this, I'll tell you about Domingos. He's the man here at the back right. This is in his home. The Angola, because of their wealth, has a rising middle class. And the church has been very effective in reaching in those outlying concentric circles, but there's very little going on in the center of the city, and there's very little going on to reach this growing middle class. Domingos, for example, his father is a Baptist preacher. His wife is a very faithful member of the church, but Domingos didn't feel that church was something he was interested in. He thought church was full of a bunch of phonies. You see, the wealthy, they all go to the Catholic church, and by that I mean they're in Mass on Easter and perhaps Christmas, but most of the rest of the time, that's not a major influence in their lives, so he wasn't drawn to that. Among the lower income classes, the Pentecostal movement has swept through Angola, and unfortunately with it, kind of the health and wealth gospel movement. Along with that, the example of the minister that worked with us for a while and fled with church funds. Unfortunately, that's not a unique example, but is actually very common. And so the middle class sees what's going on among the poor, and they feel like that's just an opportunity to steal from the poor and to take what they have, and they want no part of it. So Domingos has always felt like church is just where we all go to pretend like everything's great, throw your money in the plate, and then hightail it out of there and head down to the pub. When my teammate Nathan met Domingos, she began studying with him, and Domingos shared some of his feelings about church, and Nathan invited Domingos to come and be a part of our accountability group, men's accountability group. We get together once a week, and we have an opportunity to share about what we're struggling with. So for me, I get together with my teammates, and I say, guys, you know I have a hot temper, and this week I blew it. I think my kids heard some things I didn't want them to hear, and then we spend time praying for each other. And when Domingos became a part of that group, he saw that Christianity wasn't just a facade, but he saw men sharing their faith with each other, sharing their struggles with each other, and he said, that's a church that I want to be a part of. So we're beginning this new work with a new church model. It's based around cell groups. We're meeting in homes so that we have an intimate setting and an opportunity to really share each person where they're at in life, what they're going through. Every member of the study contributes to the Bible study, and we do Lord's Supper and singing and prayer and all of that, but we are looking for a different model to help reach this unreached people group in Angola. We're very excited about results so far. As I mentioned, we've only been a part of this since April, so it's very new, but we have Domingos and his wife Amelia with us, as well as one other couple, and hopefully soon this small house church will divide in 2, perhaps 3, and begin inviting others in and reaching out to our community in that way. That's our local work. I also mentioned I travel all over the nation to teach. We've established what we call Project Timothy from 2 Timothy 2:2, and we want not only to teach the Word, but to equip Bible teachers in other places. So we're offering a 4-week training program to churches in Angola, 1 week at a time, so I don't have to spend 4 whole weeks away from my family when we do this. 1 week at a time we go, we teach, and we equip a small group within a congregation to be better Bible teachers. In this congregation, they chose the youth, so these youth all participated in that, and here they are receiving their certificates. I also teach part-time with Angola's Theological School. It's an interdenominational effort. I'm their representative from the Churches of Christ, and I get to teach Old Testament and New Testament courses for people coming in to learn how to better serve the churches where they are, so it's a blessing to be a part of that. And then we have our international circle, so local, national, and international. Every year we take interns from Harding University. we put them through the ringer. We have them jump right in and get involved in what we're doing. So Dakota here up top is teaching about how to purify drinking water. Caleb here at the bottom is taking part of a language survey among the Khoisan people. They speak one of the tongue-clicking languages. If you've seen The Gods Must Be Crazy or documentaries about that, we got to go and do a language survey to help find out if they could use Bible translations that have been done in other languages. And we threw Caleb right into it. He said the words in Portuguese, and then this man would use the variety of clicks to tell him how that was said. But I share this with you as kind of a call for more workers. The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. As I said, we're the only missionaries in all of Angola, a nation of more than 15 million people who are focused on church planting. So I want to extend an invitation. If this kind of work interests you, maybe even if it doesn't, we're always looking for others to come, whether it's for a short-term trip or a longer period. You know, I'll hang around a bit today, and I'd love to visit with you more about that. It's a blessing to be here with you this morning. If you have any questions or anything, I said I'll hang around, but also you Google Angola team, and we're the first thing that comes up. Shoot me an email. I'd love to visit with you more. Appreciate the chance to be here.
Brother Meyer, thank you for that wonderful report. We're just very inspired to pray about it and hopeful some will dedicate their lives to that great work.